Hello, friends. I welcome you all at my YouTube channel, Study of Political Science, which I acronym as SPS Online Classes. This is me, Tilakraj Sharma, Research Scholar, Department of Political Science, University of Jammu. So, before going to present the today's topic, I would like to have a quick remind of my earlier two lectures. First one was about the meaning and scope of political science. In the meaning of political science, we have tried to define the subject both in narrower and in broader sense. By narrow sense, I mean with the traditional meaning of the subject, and with the broader sense, we mean with the modern and the contemporary meaning of the subject. When we were talking about both the modern and the and traditional meaning of the subject, one thing which came out that the topic of state, the subject of state became significant and very important in the subject of political science, and it occupies the central position. So our today's topic is about the meaning and its element, the meaning and element of the state. When we're talking about meaning and the definition of the state, so first is the derivative meaning. We need to understand that the state is derived from the word status. Now this status word is the Latin word, which actually mean condition or circumstances. So now look, it was actually Nicholas Machiavelli who for the first time used the term state in his famous writing The Prince. State is, as we have seen today, that is the most universal and powerful of all the social institution. It was even during the ancient time that Aristotle said, while making the necessity of the state, that man is a social animal and by nature he is a political being. So try to understand Aristotle saying that why he's used the term that man is a political being. He tried to use the term political being because that man is supposed to live an ordered life, a well regulated and channelized life, only as a member of the state. To him, to live in the state and to be a man were identical. Thus, in concrete, he defines state as, अब एरिस्टोटल स्टेट के लिए क्या कहते हैं, that state is the union of families. Now look, he started from a very basic element of the state, that he started that state is a union of families and villages having for its end a perfect and self-sufficient life, by which it meant a happy and good life. See, before this slide I said that man can lead a happy and channelized life only as a member of the state. Now, according to Garner, state is a community of people living in a definite form of territory, free of external control, and possessing an organized government to which people show habitual agreement. Lasky defined state as a territorial society divided into government and subjects whose relationship are determined by the exercise of supreme coercive power. Now, please understand the term supreme coercive power. Supreme coercive power actually mean the power which state use to maintain its authority. Like for example, police force, like armed force, like paramilitary force. So you understand this. Now, I hope you may have understood that what actually mean. We will be clearing it even in next slides. But state actually is a political entity, which actually possesses four basic elements. The fifth one will be introduced. We will be introducing in the next slides. But the four basic elements, that a land mass, I mean which territory, having a population and government while enjoying the sovereignty. So these four elements, as you are watching, being categorized into two. First two are the physical element and the second two are the political element. Now we'll be discussing one by one. First, I'll be dealing with population. Now, one of the basic requirement to being called a landmass, a state, that is a population. Now that a genuine question may arise, that how much population is required. Will it be a definite population, or may it change, or can there be a fixed number? There are thousands of questions in mind. But if we talk about the small Greek city states, which were neither which were very small in size. So Greek view said that population must neither be too small or too big. Like for example, Plato had even fixed the number to 5040. Then if we talk about the Aristotle, he actually hasn't fixed the number, but he said that population must be well governed, and its size must not be that much large. But when we compare with the modern state system and modern states, which are very huge in size, multicultural and plural state system, with such a huge size in population also. So population cannot be fixed, cannot be definite. And yes, population is one of the basic element of the state. Now if we talk about the territory, you know when we talk about the population, so it is actually imperative that people require territory to organize themselves. When we talk about the social organization or political organization, so this territory is important, and now this territory covers the land, the water, and the airspace. Now Greek viewed a notion of small territory. When I was talking about the Greek view, so Greek people never mean that the territory must be uncontrolled and with huge land mass and large population. They were having a very ideal image of the state. So they viewed a very small city states in terms of population or in terms of its territory. But as we are witnessing even today, that the modern states are too big in comparison with the ancient Greek city states. Now if we talk about the government, now why government is required? Because when we talk about the population, I mean with small or huge population and a territory, now government is required to maintain that population in odd so that an ordered society, a well regulated and channelized society be created or be maintained. So now what is the government actually mean? See, when we talk about the state, so state is being represented by the government and is an active agency of the government. So this is the highest authority which makes and enforce laws to channelize the life of the people in the best possible manner. So last is the sovereignty. So what actually this mean when we talk about the sovereignty? So sovereignty is actually a legal authority and it's something what we can say in a narrower interpretation of it, that it's an independence, it's the freedom of a state, it's the freedom of a king. So it has actually two aspects. First is the internal and second is the external. When we talk about the internal sovereignty, state is considered supreme over all its citizens and association. So there need to be an obedience to the state. You can disobey the government, you may have some ideological problem, but you are supposed to obey. I mean, every citizen is supposed to obey the state. Now, when we talk about the external sovereignty, it simply means that independence and free from the outside influence or control. Now, another question, which actually is a subject matter of international law. When we talk about, the fifth element, which is emerging after the establishment of new world order, after the post second world war period. So international recognition became so important that the state which emerge requires some internationally required to being recognized by all the members of the international community. So when we talk about the recognition at the international level, so international community actually recognizing three things. One is the state, another is the government, and the third one is the disputes. When we talk about the recognition of the state, so for example, like if we take the example of Israel, so Israel was being recognized internationally and then it became a state. When we talk about Bangladesh, it was recognized by international community as an independent state. So the second is the recognition of the system of the government. Now, if we talk about the recognition of the government, it never actually mean that recognition of the government within the parameter of the constitution. When a kind of insurgency happened, or kind of a paradigm shift of a system from one set of ideology to another set of ideology, then that system of recognition of government became imperative internationally. Like for example, in case of recognition of the communist regime in China in 1949. So another one is the dispute, recognition of the disputes. Like if we talk about that the dispute be recognized internationally, so the first example came in our mind is the issue of Gaza Strip and West Bank between Israel and PLO. So the our question here is only the the international recognition to the state as a fifth and emerging element of the state. Now, the recognition of the state simply means whenever the country came into existence, it needs to being recognized by the global community or global pool. It used to help for the participation in the global affairs. Now, why international recognition is important? Because it used to help for the participation in the global affair. So, now when we talk about the international recognition of the state, there are actually two theories. Number one is the constitutive theory, and number two is the declaratory theory. Now, what actually constitutive theory says and what it means? It actually says that the act of recognition by other states creates a new state and endows with it a legal personality, and not only the process by which it actually attained independence. So you must understand that it actually, when we recognize the state, it became imperative to to identify and to establish and to recognize a legal personality, and it became a member of the international community. Now, if we talk about the declaratory theory, it actually says that recognition is merely an acceptance by the state of an already existing situation. What it says, that recognition merely an acceptance by the state of an already existing situation. Therefore, a state acquires capacity in international law not by the consent of the state but by virtue of its factual situation. So now we have been able to talk about both the theories, why international recognition is important, and what are its various aspects. So this post UN era, you know, actually tried to make the system of states, and trying to make the states in a very reasonable order in an ordered fashion, so that a global system of the state, a global political system can be established, and a very a system which is based on the participation of all the members. So, in conclusion, I would like to say that thus we can say that the state is the highest form of human association. It is necessary because it comes into existence out of the basic needs of the life. It continues to remain for the sake of good life. So, guys, in short, what is state? That state is a political entity which actually has four basic elements. One is the population, other is the government, then other is the territory, and then is the sovereignty. Another emerging element is coming out, what we call the international recognition is imperative to being called state a state. But the view is different, because sometime an international academic discourse within the subject of political science is emerging. Some people actually challenges this aspect of state, while saying that international recognition is of the state and the government, I mean the political system, which I defined earlier, that is required only for the countries which were getting and got the independence from the colonial world, belonging to Asia, Africa, and Latin America. But when we have seen a political shift in the countries of Europe, in the countries of North America, then international recognition wasn't required. So the challenge and the problem with this element is again a contesting one, and it is being refuted, and having different viewpoint, both from United States of America and United Kingdom. So when we say United States of America, because in now 1979, America was recognizing and was able to recognize the political system of in Afghanistan, and was willing to work on its initial agreements, I mean bilateral agreement with Afghanistan regime. But when there emerged the Taliban regime in 1999, so then America even ready not to accept, not to recognize the 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 the, the system, the changed system, Taliban government there. So when we talk about the British viewpoint on the recognition, the British government just simply very liberal about the recognition or not to recognition is actually based upon the nation and its participation in the world. So they were actually oversimplified the definition, but this is actually a matter of academic discussion and a debate, that whether the international recognition is required or not required. Even UN has different manifestation of this element. So till now it is, if you are supposed to have and supposed to want to be a state, I mean a landmass want to be a state, or a population is claiming to being a state, only four element is required: number one, number two, number three, and number four. Not the fifth one. It's only an academic discourse and a discussion. But yes, few are accepting it as an element of state and others were refuting. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for watching and listening. For promoting, for making me promoting me to make more videos, kindly subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thanks for encouragement. I'll be obliged.